Hello and welcome back to the LFC transfer room after Liverpool have proceeded into the semi-final of the Champions League after drawing against Benfica 3-3, 6-4 in aggregate. Today, joined by three lovely gentlemen, Lewis, Jay and Neil. I'll start with you, Louis, just on the watch along. How was that? You know, bit risky, a bit nervy towards the last few minutes.
No, we were all sat there. We were begging them to score a fifth one just to make it interesting. You know, we were very, it could have turned into anything, but at the end of the day, I think 3-3 makes Benfica look good. I think we barely got out of third gear in that game, and I think we got through at a canter. So I'm good. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, Neil, at the end of the day, job's done, isn't it? You know, similar to the Inter Milan game. Yeah, they scored a goal, but we're through to the semi-finals. They're going back home.
Yeah, and I think what was, I wouldn't say gambled, but it was a bold team selection, knowing that we would probably get through, and he's managed to, give a rest to some of our most important players. So the result was the result. We'd like to win the game, but as you say, we've got through, and we've managed to give players a rest as well. So all good. No injuries by the looks of it as well, which is the other thing.
Yeah. Jay, happy with the overall result for the game?
Yeah, more than happy, mate. I agree with what Louis said, to be honest. It never felt like we got out of the second gear. If we wanted to, we could have, but no, more than happy, mate. Like he said, no injuries, and sounds like De Bruyne might not be fit for Saturday, so even better.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Neil.
Sorry, I think the other thing that's really important is for the players in the squad that they're still feeling part of it, and I think the likes of Gomez and Tsimikas, who's got another two assists tonight. I think it's really important that they're trusted, and that'll be a big boost for a lot of those players who have come in tonight, that they're trusted in a Champions League quarter-final. So I think from that perspective, the morale of the squad, or the majority of the squad, will be high.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go straight into it then. You know, Kostas Tsimikas, I thought he was probably man of the match. You know, a very impressive performance from him. I mean, Louis, 2 assists from him. We've had this debate loads. It's with the former Robertsons on, you can't really drop him. But, you know, maybe if he keeps on putting these performances, he's going to want to transfer away, isn't he? You know, because he could start in a lot of Premier League teams, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of debate about right now who's the best left back in the world. You know, João Cancelo's probably pipping it at the moment, but I think who's got the best backup left back in the world? It's got to be us. Costa, just fantastic performance, and it was disappointing for him earlier in the season when Klopp almost said that it doesn't matter what Tsimikas does, Robertson's my guy, but. You know, you can only ignore him for so long. Otherwise, Tsimikas will have a reason to look to move to greener pastures. So if he carries on doing this and that's all he can do, and he seems happy with his role in the squad, but if he can carry this on, then he really does pose some interesting questions for Klopp. And I think for us as fans, we should just enjoy it. It's not every day that we get to have two great players fighting over one position, especially in the left back department, which is somewhere that we have struggled in the past with the likes of Konchesky and Alberto Moreno.
I mean, speaking of Alberto Moreno, we won't be playing, but I think he's done his cruciate ligament in or something in March, so we won't be playing on the field. But you know, as Louis said there, Neil, you know, we're spoiled for choices at left back, aren't we? I mean, I think Kostas Tsimikas, since he's played, he's got like 6 assists for Jota, and that's like one of the highest player-to-player assists, with it only Trent to Salah and Salah to Mane being higher. So, you know, next season, it's whoever performs well in pre-season maybe might get a chance. Do you think he could dethrone Robertson in the long run?
I don't, if I'm honest, only because I think Klopp is so adamant that Robertson is his number one. But as you say, we are spoilt for choice. I think if he was gonna, I think if he had a chance, it may have been earlier in the season when Robertson picked up the knock in pre-season. Tsimikas came in and did well. when Robertson came back into the team, he wasn't at his best at all. It was a run of games, but Klopp did give him that vote of confidence. And to be fair to him, he's improved since that rough spell. So I don't think he can. I don't think he will break into the team as first choice. But what a luxury to have. You know, we've got a backup player that loves the club, wants to be part of it. And, you know, he's going to come in and play his 20 games or whatever it is and perform like he did tonight. 2 assists in the Champions League quarter-final.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, do you see him playing again this season? You know, Andy Robertson got a full 90 minutes rest, probably for the FA Cup semi-final. And, you know, I can't see him unless we really drop the ball in the Premier League, him getting a shout out over Robertson. So I think that might be the last time we see him this season starting, or...
No, I don't, to be honest, just because there's that many games in such a short period. So we've got City, Saturday, United Tuesday, and then the weekend again. So no, I think you'll definitely see him maybe even twice, to be honest. I think he'll still rotate where he can. Might even be against Everton that he decides to rotate. But no, I don't think that's the last time he'll play this season.
Yeah, another standout player, Roberto Firmino. You know, 2 goals again, Neil. Well, yeah, I don't know when the last time he scored 2 goals was, to be fair. But, you know, 2 goals, took them well. Think that ended his Anfield drought, or is that drought in the Premier League where he hasn't scored over a year?
I think the drought's in the Premier League because didn't he score against Shrewsbury in the FA Cup at home? He got a cheeky back heel, if I remember.
Yeah.
I remember rightly. So yeah, he was a bit frustrated. He was typical Bobby tonight. He was a little bit frustrating at times. I was unlucky not to score with the one that got headed over the bar by Vertonghen. Then played a sloppy pass into Dias, which should have been the second goal for us. And then he came alive in the second half. I think once he got his goal, he looked really, really confident. And particularly when Salah and Mane came on, he looked like the old Bobby a little bit. So again, you know, he's probably not a first choice anymore. But what a player to have to play in a Champions League quarter final, and he's done the damage with 2 goals.
One person I do want to touch on, Louis, is Luis Diaz. You know, he didn't get a goal or assist again tonight, but he played on the right-hand side. And, you know, the first opening half an hour, he was running their left-hand side, absolute, like, ragged. I think he got 2 fouls on the right, you know, cut inside, had a couple of shots. I mean, it's not going to be displacing Salah anytime soon, but it's just another weapon for Klopp's Arsenal that he can play on the right-hand side, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's been with us. You know, it's amazing. It's April already, so he's been with us for nearly 3 months, and we're still yet to see any kind of dip in his flair. You know, he's not being told to be more sensible. I think this season he is just kind of, especially with the language barrier, he's maybe kind of being given that freedom to express himself a bit, which is great to see. And you know, it just shows what, as you said, what a great arsenal of attacking players that we've got on our hands at the moment. Just quickly going back to Roberto Firmino, though. I mean, if for Tsimikas potentially dislodging Robertson, I think that's probably the person he's got to look on as a sign that maybe he could do that, because we know how much Klopp loves Roberto Firmino, and I was very surprised how little time he got on the pitch versus Man City. I thought he might start him, but in the end, barely got 5 minutes at the end of the game, which was very surprising. So I think that shows that although Klopp, as you said, Neil, is very keen to sort of stick with what he knows and who he trusts, there does come a point where he admits that others may be in better form and better spells. So just again, just touching back on Tsimikas slightly, he does have a chance of breaking in, but yeah.
I mean, Jay, I want to touch on the midfield. You know, the midfield selection when it first come out raised a few eyebrows, to say the least. You know, I think Louis said that this might be the last time we see James Milner start for Liverpool ever in your live stream, if I recall that. Drew's brought the question here, you know, what were your thoughts on the midfielders? answer the other one later. But I thought he played an okay game today, and when they come off, we had NFT, Naby, Fabinho, Thiago. The midfield sort of lost all of its rhythm, didn't it? When them two come on.
I thought Milner struggled in the first half, to be honest. A few things he done that were just questionable. Even the goal that they scored, I know he was a little bit unlucky with his touch, but I thought Milner, to be honest, I thought Henderson was off it as well, to be honest. I weren't particularly impressed with either of them. I thought Keita was really good. And I'm a critic of Keita, but I thought he played really well today. But no, I've got to be honest, I thought Henderson struggled and I thought Milner struggled as well.
I think I put a tweet out and I said, if Henderson isn't moved into Milner's role next season and Milner phased out, I do think that's going to be a massive mistake by the club. And I do think today that this sort of did, even though, when I say I was impressed with them, they weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be. They weren't amazing, but, they weren't absolutely dreadful like we have seen previously. But, people love the Naby, Thiago, Fabinho talk. It's flashy. It's the three main players that everyone really likes in that midfield. But does it offer everything that this Jurgen Klopp side needs, Louis? Because we've been linked with the likes of Gavi, Tchouaméni, Bellingham. Surely someone has to come in that right-sided midfield and relegate Henderson to the James Milner role next season.
Yeah, I think we are one midfielder away from like perfection almost. Drew says Hendo's legs look shot. I mean, as brilliant as he has been for us, and I'm one of his staunchest defenders. He has lost a bit of something, particularly this season. I think he's still capable of putting in a brilliant performance every now and then, but just all season now, we're in April, and he hasn't really shown much consistency. I don't think there's not too many times where I've thought he's been fantastic across multiple games. So no, we definitely need something else. Of course, we've got Carvalho coming in. That's easy to forget. And a lot of people think maybe he could fill that right-sided role because the right-sided midfielder is sort of our version of a number 10, an asymmetrical number 10. So whether Carvalho is the answer or whether he is a bit more of a future prospect, I don't know. But yeah, I think a lot of people wouldn't be surprised if Milner got a contract extension, but I just think that can't happen, especially after, the last few times he started. He's just not at it anymore. And yeah, I think Henderson's career might benefit from taking more of a backward step.
Neil, I want to ask you this. Was Henderson's contract extension a mistake for the club?
I think the length of it, looking at how his legs look at the moment, may be questionable. I think he's been a brilliant captain for the club and a brilliant player, but there is a noticeable decline in his athleticism, and he may be actually more suited to the 6 than he is to the right-sided 8 now. So I think I wanted to see him get an extension, but I think it was a 4-year deal. It got till he was
3. Yeah, so it's 3 with a year to extend if he gets so many appearances or something in his last season.
Yeah. So for me, it's the length of it, because imagine him in 2 years' time. He looks like he is declining now in terms of his athleticism. So I think it was a mistake for the length of that deal. I'm interested to see. He took him off tonight, and I don't know if he's taking him off with a view to playing him on Saturday. But he's not been. He was brilliant against Everton. He had a fantastic game against Everton, but that's the only one really that you can say. And he's been, in some games he's been okay, but the way Naby Keita's playing, and I was also impressed with him tonight. It's hard to. It's going to be harder and harder to leave him out if he continues to perform the way he is, I think.
I'm sure if Owen was here, he wouldn't be too impressed with Naby Keita's performance. It doesn't give him any slack, but sorry.
You'd think James Milner was a 10 out of 10 as well.
we love you, Owen. But, going on to Drew's other question, Jay, What's our best midfield three at the moment? You know, we've seen the Naby, Fabinho, Thiago. Klopp seems to prefer the Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson. Going into the City game, what do you play? Everyone's had a rest today. You know, no one played the full 90 minutes. And with Keita's performances, do you maybe give him the nod over Henderson on Saturday?
At the beginning of the season, I was always adamant it was Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson. But I agree with what both the lads have said, that Henderson's form's just declined and hasn't really picked up at any point. And I completely agree with what Neil said. I was thinking it before he said it. The last great game I remember Henderson having was Everton, and that was ages ago. It was half a season ago. And he's been nowhere near anything like that since, to be fair. So I've never been a big fan of Keita, to be honest, but I thought his performance today deserves a start Saturday, and then I'd put him with Thiago and Fabinho, just because I think Henderson's struggling, and it'll probably do him good keeping him off the team, just so he understands he needs to raise his game if he wants to be starting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, good I can't really say good all-round performance because the high line was not working in our favour today. But just before we get onto the next sort of topic, please, if you are watching, make sure you leave a like on the video. Helps us out. We're really close to 3.5k. Might be there already, but with a few subs off. But defensively, Neil, you know, the high line again. I think we've got to sort of maybe bypass this one because, you know, 3 of the 4 defenders have been changed in the game. But it was a problem against City, and it was a problem today. Joe Gomez got caught out for the second goal, and Ibrahima Konate just got caught out for the third goal as well. Do you think maybe in certain games Klopp needs to stop playing the high line, mainly when Virgil van Dijk isn't on the pitch?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to judge tonight because, as you say, we changed 3 out of the back 4, which is quite significant changes in defence. I find it is concerning when you see it and how tight some of these calls are. But I think we've lost 2 league games and 1 Champions League game all season playing a certain way, and I'm adverse to change at this stage. I think the blame it's interesting whenever there's question marks given to the manager over the high line, he always talks about applying pressure higher up the pitch. So I suspect that'll be the reasons given tonight as well. So I wouldn't personally change it because I think it served us so well. I think we've got a brilliant defensive record. I think we were poor in midfield against City, which didn't help us on Saturday. So I think if we can get it right, you know, a bit further forward, then I'm opposed to changing it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, you know, it is a silly question because Klopp's not going to change it, no matter how much we fume that it's, you know, risky. But, you know, 2 of the defenders have been playing. Matip and Konate have been playing all season. Kostas Tsimikas was the only person who was holding that line the whole game, and Joe Gomez has been in and out of the team. So it's not like these 4 defenders have never played a high line, but they just got it all wrong today with the high line. It seems, didn't they?
Yeah, but they were very marginal as well.
Yeah.
Marginal decisions. It's not as if, you know, they've had to play a foot on sides or something like that. And the big thing you've got to remember with that high line is Van Dijk's the organiser. You'll hear it in the game, you'll hear him shout line constantly, and he's pushing everyone with him. He's the organiser. There wasn't any of that today. So I think he's a massive part of playing the high line. And from what I know, have we not got the most clean sheets in the Prem?
Tied with Manchester City.
Tied, so, you know, top, I wouldn't be changing something that's not broke. You know, 2 games compared to the rest of the season. No, you wouldn't change it.
Yeah. Agree, Louis? I saw you shaking your head at me comments.
No, because I know that's how you felt after the Man City game when things got a little bit heated in the LFC transfer.
We won't talk about that.
We won't talk about that. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where we've just got to remember that linesmen don't raise their flags anymore. and they wait until the chance goes. So a lot of times this season, we've seen teams look like they've broken through the high line, score a brilliant goal, and we all think bollocks. And then it goes back and it's offside, and that's the end of it. So it's hard to kind of make that difference that actually it was offside. So whatever happened after that doesn't matter. It's not a shot on target. It's not a disallowed goal. It was offside, and everything after that is dead in the water. And it's also one of those things where, you know, you don't notice until it goes wrong, kind of thing. As Neil said, we've lost 1 Champions League game and 2 league games playing with that high line, and it's so deeply ingrained into Klopp's style. It feels like particularly this season more than ever. I don't think that you can really decide to stop that and drop 5-10 yards for one specific opposition, because I feel like you're then trying to retrain the whole team, not just the back line. And that's something, especially with our schedule, is difficult to do in, 2-3 days in between games.
Definitely, but we're not Pep Linders or Peter Kravitz. I doubt we're going to be convincing Jurgen Klopp to stop playing this anytime soon. Really quickly, if you are new, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. Going on to the semi-final, lads. Fairly lucky, Villarreal are a great team, but going into the quarterfinals, the 2 teams that we wanted to draw were Benfica and Villarreal. Somehow in the semi-final and quarterfinal, we've managed to get them both. Jay, it couldn't have went any more in our favour, this Champions League run, could it? Apart from the group stage, the group of death, we've got to remember we were in that and we won 6 out of 6. So all the Evertonians saying they've had harder FA Cup runs can pipe down because, you haven't been in a Champions League. But, it's a fairly favourable draw for us, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, it is, mate. If you'd have asked anyone who you could have picked out of all the teams that were there, they're obviously the 2 you would have picked, and it does feel like stars are aligning a little bit, but still 2 big games that you've got to win, mate, and you can't disrespect Villarreal because they have just beat Bayern Munich, which is a team that you didn't want to draw. And I'm sure when Bayern Munich were drawn against Villarreal, they were probably rubbing their hands together because they didn't get the teams we didn't want to get. So you can't be underestimating Villarreal, and Benfica have just scored 3 at Anfield, albeit with a weakened side. It's the Champions League, mate, so yeah, made up we got Villarreal, but definitely not taking anything for granted because I've seen a lot of people talking about we're in the final already. We're not.
Yeah, I mean, Neil, as Jay said there, we have to take every game as it comes, but surely, you are, if you're Jurgen Klopp, you're very happy with Villarreal. I know that a lot of Bayern Munich fans were even worried if they got out of this game, they weren't confident against Liverpool. But, it shows how good that Villarreal wasn't. Unai Emery's a very good tactician. He sets his defence up well, something that he has done this season in the Champions League, and it's proven well for them.
Yeah, he's got a brilliant record, hasn't he, in European football, Emery? So I think he's won the Europa League at least 3, maybe four times.
3 with Seville, 1 with Villarreal.
So yeah, I think Emery, I think his reputation suffered a bit for when he was at Arsenal, but he is a very good tactician. He will get them well organised. Bayern Munich, whilst they're not as good as they were, are still well clear at the top of the Bundesliga, and they still score a lot of goals. And they've restricted them to 1 goal over the 2 legs. So Klopp's probably not thinking about it now because I think his mentality very much is just 1 game at the time, or 1 game at a time. I think we need the first leg at Anfield. We need a big performance at Anfield and try and bury the tie early. But it's going to be a team that's sitting and are going to try and be difficult to break down. So really important that Keita, Thiago, players like that are on the field to help.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the highliners we were before, Louis, it's they sit back and they've got players like Chukwueze, Danjuma, very pacey players. Gerard Moreno is that his name? That's his name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good player. Pau Torres at the back as well.
Yep.
You know, Albiol, very experienced player. Pajero, you know, you look at some of the names in the side and, you know, they might not be at the peak, but they've got a lot of experience in that side. They're very well set up. They've been together as a unit for a few years now. Last season, they won the first ever European trophy. It might have been the first ever trophy. You know, it's not it's not a done deal by any means. You know, there's definitely possibility in this for an upset, isn't there?
Yeah, I think we talked about this in the watch along. For me, taking all the tactics out of it, when you get an underdog like this that just keeps on steamrolling their way through a competition somehow, that eventually it comes to a point where it's a bridge too far. And they've got to that point now where no one expected them to beat Juventus. No one really gave them a chance against Bayern. But now getting through, facing Liverpool, you're starting to see a lot of momentum build where people think that they actually could do something against us. So for me, I'm just hoping, all tactics aside, that they've kind of overstretched themselves and they might start to believe their own hype a little bit too much. And at the end of the day, regardless of what they do, if we play to our best, we win and we go through. It's just, as well as we are doing this season, and we are still in all 4 competitions, we haven't actually. There's few games where we've actually played to what you would call our full potential. It feels like similar to the title winning season. There's loads and loads of games where we've had to really grind out results, or like today where we seem to win at a canter, but it's still not quite convincing. So, as you said, it's going to be a very interesting tie. I'm really looking forward to it, but it will be almost like an Atletico Madrid 2.0. It's going to be a very, very low block, and we might have to be ready to really grind this one out as a bit of a war of attrition.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the other side of the Group J, speaking of Atletico Madrid, just got knocked out by Manchester City. If you haven't seen the last 10 minutes of that game, you know, watch it on BT Sport. I don't know what the other 90 were like, but the last 10 were horrible. You know, so it's going to be Manchester City versus Real Madrid. Real Madrid stifled a pretty good comeback, probably didn't deserve to get through during that game. But, you know, it's shaping up for a Liverpool versus City final, isn't it? Which is the one game that I think every Liverpool fan don't want. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but even in the last game on last Sunday, the whole 90 minutes I'm just like on edge. And the fact that we could have we've got at least one more game, you know, the fact that we could have a final, it's a horrible feeling, to say the least, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah. I don't know how many times my heart can take playing City again this season, to be honest. It reminds me of Chelsea when we had Rafa and Mourinho. I felt like we played Chelsea every 2 weeks. But obviously with City now instead. On paper, yeah, you'd expect it to be Liverpool City, but either game's going to be hard in the final, but I prefer to play Madrid than City, like, I won't lie, definitely.
Yeah, Neil, do you agree with that? I mean, potential for a bit of a revenge on Real Madrid from a few years ago.
Yeah, we definitely owe them one, don't we? So they would be my pick. I think the 2 games we've had against City, I think they've been better both times, if we're honest. Particularly their first half performances. So I would rather play Real and get our own back for Kiev in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, Louis, we know that Manchester City struggle with big European teams. They've done it with us in the past, and I think R9 said it, no matter what form Real Madrid are in, they're always one of the favourites for the competition, which is true with Liverpool and Real Madrid. You know, their pedigree in that competition always gives them that extra boost over the likes of Man City, doesn't it? So, you know, it's no mean a done deal with that game, but you're hoping for Real Madrid. It's the lesser of two evils, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they can show up against anybody. They were having quite a bad season last year, if I remember, and then we turned up and Modric and Kris just absolutely dominated our midfield. And they've just got so much. They've got so many players who are still so experienced in the Champions League of what it means to progress in the highest level of knockout football in the world. So I don't expect City to blow them away at all. And I hope it is Real Madrid who get through, because if Man City get to a second final in 2 years, you just fancy them to go that extra step further and really seal the deal. So obviously, I'd have to fancy us either way, but yeah, I'm hoping Real Madrid can summon up that experience, and it's not just revenge for the final; it's revenge for last season as well, because we just weren't at the races at all in that first leg and couldn't mount a comeback in the second leg. So there's plenty of animosity, I feel like, between us, and I think it would be potentially a better final overall as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's hoping that it's not Man City. I couldn't imagine us being the one to stop them winning the first European trophy and failing. We'd never hear the end of it from the two City fans. But I completely forgot to say before we end the show, obviously, I go around, ask everyone's man of the match of the game, of the Benfica game. I'm going to give it to Simicast. But Louis, I'll start with you and we'll just go clockwise.
Yeah, I'll give it to Simicast as well. He was just constantly bombing forward, constantly putting really high quality balls into the box, and 2 assists is nothing to sniff your nose at. So yeah, I'll give it to him.
Yeah, Jay?
I was impressed with the Keita, but yeah, Simicast. I think Simicast was man of the match, and to be fair, honourable shout out to Nunes. He looks a proper player. People linked with Haaland, I'd be looking at Nunes, younger, injury record not like him. Oof, he's a player, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think we might discuss him in the transfer central tomorrow, but very impressive today. Both finishes for the offside goal and the goal, very good, and his finish in the first one as well.
That chip,
yeah, and Klopp, as usual, staring the pot when it comes to comments after games. So, you never know. I can't see Liverpool spending 60 million on him, but he does look like a very good player. But Neil, your man of the match for today, you're going to make it a full house with Kostas Tsimikas.
Oh, I was very impressed with him, but I'm going to go for Roberto Firmino. 2 goals. I love Bobby. So I'll go with Bobby. I thought Dias looked very good when he was on the pitch as well, but I'll go with Bobby.
Yeah, I'll give Owens to James Milner because that's what he wants. But yeah, so make sure you are liked and subscribe to the channel. Turn the bell notification on too. Lewis, Jay, Neil, thank you for joining us. Make sure you go and check out all of their Twitters. They're on the screen. Also to Louis, you'll have the watch along for the Wembley game on Saturday.
Yes, not looking forward to it, just like the last one. But I will be there from 3:00, so make sure you're there as well.
Yeah, and tomorrow we will have a transfer central. So, yeah, loads of content coming up until the end of the season. But lads, thank you for joining me. Everybody in chat as well, thank you for joining the stream. And